Have you ever wondered why a dominant superpower hasn't emerged from the Arab countries? With over 40 Islamic nations, you'd think there would be a force to be reckoned with. Yet, the ongoing conflict between war continues to escalate, leaving us wondering why there isn't a stronger response from the Arab world. Let's dive deeper into this dilemma. Enter the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, a coalition of Islamic countries consisting of around 17 member nations. While some Arab nations thrive economically and possess significant military capabilities, their responses to conflicts like the war situation seem limited to protests, diplomatic interventions, and mere verbal declarations. Meaningful action, on the other hand, remains elusive. There was a time when certain Arab nations directly challenged in a major conflict, but since then, a reluctance to engage in full-scale war has prevailed. So, what's holding the Arab countries back from becoming a superpower? When we look at the list of Arab Islamic nations with global influence, Pakistan and Turkey stand out as the most powerful. Pakistan possesses nuclear weapons, while Turkey boasts advanced technology and a strategic location. However, despite their individual strengths, no single Arab country has emerged as a potential superpower. This begs the question, why? Islam is the second largest religion in the world, with over 40 countries having a Muslim majority. Yet, these nations have not been able to create a unified force or establish themselves as a dominant global power. It's an ongoing conflict that highlights the skepticism of major world powers, such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and France, who don't foresee Islam producing a single, dominating superpower. Just take a look at the UN Security Council, and you'll notice a lack of representation from Arab countries. In contrast, alliance countries like the US, UK, and France align against powers like China or Russia, which prioritize rationalism or atheism rather than a single religious ideology. So, what's hindering the Arab countries from rising to superpower status? It boils down to a variety of factors. As we witness the war between Hamas and Israel unfold, it remains uncertain if countries like Iran will receive support from China. The underlying issue is that these Islamic nations lack the key ingredients needed to become superpowers. On the other hand, countries like India are emerging as potential superpowers due to their rapid growth and influence over the next 50 years. One major factor contributing to the Arab countries' limited power is their dependence on other nations. Take the United States, for example, which holds substantial military influence in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, UAE, Iraq, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain. These countries are constrained in their actions against the US due to existing military contracts and partnerships. Let's not forget about the US naval bases strategically positioned in Bahrain and Kuwait, along with the historical ties and diplomatic relationships established since the 1990s. These factors further underscore the Arab nations' reliance on the United States. Even economically prosperous countries like Qatar find themselves entangled with significant US involvement, including the presence of a military base. In Iraq, the influence of the United States remains intact, further limiting the country's autonomy and ability to emerge as a superpower. In conclusion, while Arab countries possess significant potential and resources, various factors such as geopolitical dependencies and a lack of unity prevent them from achieving superpower status. The journey towards dominance remains elusive, while other nations strategically position themselves for success. Where power dynamics and alliances shape the course of nations. Today, we'll dive into the fascinating realm of Middle East and Islamic countries, exploring their relationships with the United States and other global powers. Let's start with the United Arab Emirates, UAE, a country that has maintained a strong and strategic partnership with the United States. With its large military presence and influence in Iraq, the UAE plays a vital role in the region. Speaking of influence, it's impossible not to mention Egypt, which has become one of America's closest friends, providing economic and military assistance to Jordan and collaborating with the US on various issues. But the power dynamics don't stop there. Oman also wields significant influence in Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. And when it comes to Pakistan, the story takes an interesting turn. Formerly aligned with the US and Europe during the Cold War, Pakistan has now forged a close relationship with China, relying on their economic and military aid. As we delve deeper, we realize that Pakistan's independent existence and development are yet to be fully realized. On the other hand, countries like Bangladesh, Nigeria, and Indonesia are emerging as potential powerhouses. Meanwhile, Turkey, a NATO member, finds itself under the influence of the United States, given the restrictions imposed on member countries. This highlights the strong control that the US has historically maintained over Islamic countries. Moreover, the unconditional support towards Israel has further strained relations between the US and Arab nations. Intriguingly, despite the complexities and power dynamics at play, the Arab countries have been cautious in their response to the United States. Even in times of conflict, the Arab nations have not challenged the might of America's aircraft carriers. While at one point, Iran seemed to have the potential to challenge Israel, strategic alliances and interventions have shaped the course of events. In the previous scene of Slow and Slow, we witnessed a revelation of Iran's extensive efforts in nuclear weapon development, surpassing the collaborative efforts of America and Israel. The Gulf countries have experienced significant economic growth, largely attributed to oil investments in the Middle East. It is worth contemplating the hypothetical scenario of these Arab nations having a better economic standing today if not for their heavy reliance on oil. This significant influx of oil-based investments has undeniably shaped the current state of these nations. The United States, along with Britain and European countries, has capitalized on the discovery of oil deposits, thereby reinforcing their influence in the region. While it is true that larger nations tend to be economically prosperous, the Middle Eastern countries find themselves heavily dependent on the US, particularly in terms of military support. Immediately following Xi Jinping's departure, the United States openly criticized his authoritarian regime, though subsequent discussions and friendship efforts seemed to ease the tension. It is essential to acknowledge that the Chinese president, like many leaders in democratic communist nations, operates with a dictatorial approach. Consequently, China exerts its influence worldwide, often prioritizing national interests. The prolonged dependence on foreign nations has hindered the growth of Middle Eastern countries, especially those within the Arab region. While Turkey and Iran have shown initiative in developing their own capabilities, Pakistan faces significant obstacles primarily stemming from its struggling economy. The economic downturn has impeded their ability to innovate and foster technological advancements. In contrast, other countries rely on the United States for technological advancements, effortlessly acquiring them with the revenue generated from oil sales without investing in domestic growth. India, on the other hand, has fostered its own growth and development, earning the reputation of a future superpower. The key distinguishing factor is India's ability to maintain independence while engaging in productive relationships with other nations. This sets India apart and garners respect even from the United States. Regrettably, the Arab countries have yet to establish a dominant superpower amongst themselves. The emergence of such a powerful country, akin to America or East India, would significantly alleviate the challenges faced by these nations. Unfortunately, prospects for such a transformation seem improbable within the next 50 years. Presently, these countries rely heavily on the United States. However, it is disheartening to witness that after a certain point, the same countries hinder the growth of these Middle Eastern nations. These factors are revealed in greater detail in another video.